Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Riata Horsemanship. I'm Luke Brown. I'm very excited to be with you here today on Training Tip Tuesday. The horse that I'm riding this morning is Bubba. He's the Missouri Foxtrotter that I've been training, and he's on his last week, his fourth week, and we're going to be going home to his owner this Friday. And we'll be doing a last session with him on Friday and with his owner, and then going home. He's really come a long way. He was quite spooky and quite reactive to a lot of things, including the large plastic sheet that I like to drag on the ground and under saddle. And now he's just gotten to the point where he's just completely relaxed to that. Doesn't bother him at all. And out here on the urban and rural trails, he's doing much better and getting more confident, less reactive out here. So I'm excited for him, excited for his owner, and excited for his future. And today for Training Tip Tuesday, the tip that I have has a lot to do with the progress that Bubba has made. And I wasn't thinking of Bubba when I was thinking about this, what I wanted to say, but I was reading a book or listening to a book on Audible, and it's called The 12 Rules for Life. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. So I just started that book this morning. It's like probably almost a 1,000-page book. It's a 15-hour book to listen to, almost 16 hours, I believe. So it's a very, it's a very extensive book, very long book. And I've just gotten into the second part of that book, probably an hour and a half to 2 hours into the book. And he's talking about order and chaos. So Jordan Peterson in this book, The 12 Rules for Life, is talking about order and chaos, and how chaos within people, when chaos happens, it can create instability in our mind, instability in our feelings, and we can create anxiety and all kinds of negative emotions that we might have. And that basically is triggering our fight or flight response. And as I was thinking about that, and how he talked about agoraphobics, people who have agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is the fear of open spaces, the fear of being around people. Forgive me if I don't know exactly what the definition is, but I think it's the fear of being out and about around people. So people who are agoraphobic, they have this, it's basically a positive feedback problem that happens with them emotionally, where they get to the point where they don't even want to leave their house, and they're even afraid of their own house. And this is a serious condition that can be developed over time as a person goes through that positive feedback loop, where basically let's say they're a little bit anxious to be around people, and so let's say a woman in her 40s, mid 40s, is anxious to be around people, and she goes out to the mall, and she just has a really stressful situation where somebody yells at her. Well, then that just convinced her that she shouldn't be out at the mall, so she stops going to the mall. But one day she decides, I think I'm going to try to go to the mall again. When she drives up to the mall, she has so much anxiety and basically has a panic attack and leaves without getting out and going to the mall because she has so much anxiety about it. Well, that behavior was dictated by her emotions and her thoughts and feelings about what situation might occur. And so she has this feedback of negative emotions, negative hormones that are produced inside of her body that create this response, this highly anxious response, to the point where she won't go back. Excuse me. She won't go back to the mall. And she won't even she wouldn't even dare after that go back to the mall, not even drive close to the mall. Well, then it goes on from there. She starts, and it could be a male too, but it is more typical of middle-aged to older women that this happens to, or actually middle-aged women, I believe is what he said. But let's say then she decides that then she feels anxious about going to church, and normally she would go to church and get something positive out of church, but then she feels anxious about going to church because she was anxious about going to the mall, so because she's anxious about being around people. And then when she goes to church, something negative happens, or something she perceives as negative, and then it convinces her, it sends a flood of negative emotions and hormones into her body, stress hormones that cause her to then have high anxiety and not want to go back to church, and so on and so forth. And then she doesn't want to even be around family or friends. And before long, she's stuck in her house, and she's even afraid of her own house. And this is, like I said, a serious condition that shouldn't be taken lightly. And the reason I'm talking about this because just agoraphobia is one of the extreme situations that humans can get themselves into. And I want to relate that to horses. And I had no idea I was going to talk about this today, but because of this book, The 12 Rules for Life, that I started reading today, this idea came to my mind. Horses, I've always said, if you've listened to me over the past couple of years, I've always said that if a horse is afraid of something, you need to make sure and move his feet and move right to left and keep moving him until he starts to take some courage and move forward toward that thing, and then you take your pressure away. And eventually you teach your horse that thing that he was afraid of is nothing to be afraid of, and he learns to relax to it and then to move on. And once he relaxes to it, you move on. You move along the trail or wherever you're riding. The people who make a big mistake, and many of us do this, or many people do this, and I probably used to do this as well, is if your horse is afraid of something, doesn't want to go that way, well, you allow them to go around or to escape that object or that thing or whatever it is, whether it's animate or inanimate object. Allow them to move away, to spook away, and then to move forward around it. So what you're doing is you're creating this positive feedback loop where the horse is afraid of something, has the negative emotions, has the negative hormones or the stress hormones, and then gets relief of pressure, doesn't feel that fear anymore after he moves away. And he basically, it teaches his brain that thing is scary. And he thought it was scary before, and now he knows it's scary. And the people always ask me, why does my horse get more and more spooky? That is the biggest reason right there, is because people don't take the time to help their horse get through whatever that negative emotion they're feeling. If they do help them get through it, then that horse becomes softer, becomes lighter, becomes quieter, becomes more relaxed, and becomes a better and safer horse out on the trail. When you don't address that issue when it comes up, when you allow that positive feedback, and I call it positive feedback, that just means one thing leads to another, and before long that horse is afraid for his life because of some small rock or whatever it is that the horse was afraid of. Not only that, but horses will then start to add to that. So if a little rock, let's say a large rock they're afraid of, or a large black bush or something, then they start becoming afraid of a smaller black bush or a smaller rock or whatever it is. Or they were afraid of a certain trail, and now they're afraid of all trails. They're afraid of something happened negatively with a bicycle, and you don't teach them to overcome that by helping them follow a bicycle and getting them to overcome that fear. If you don't help them do that, then they develop this positive feedback, which are the negative emotions and the stress hormones that really wreak havoc in their life and create the feeling of chaos. And I talk to a lot of people about how I like to ask a horse to do something, and I purposefully create chaos in the arena and in the round pen. I purposefully create chaos, and sometimes I do it out here too, to help the horse understand that it's okay, that he can listen to me even though chaos is going on, whether it be a branch flying above his head or a rock hitting the ground or dragging something or whatever it is. We need to help our horses just like we need to help ourselves. If we allow that positive feedback loop in the negative emotions and the stress hormones if we allow that to take charge of our life, we will eventually cower to every situation in life, and so will our horses. And so just like we need help to overcome those things, our horses certainly do. We have a higher thought process than our horses. We are their leaders, and we have the potential, we have the capability of helping our horses overcome tons of stuff that we never thought that they could overcome if we'll just do it the right way. Hope that helped you guys. I know it's kind of deep today and a little bit long, but I wanted to just talk about that since it's such a wonderful book I started reading today, and what great information that Jordan Peterson is providing through that book, The 12 Rules of Life. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Until next time, be thankful, live with purpose, live with passion, and as always, stay safe in the saddle.